Hello everyone, my name is Elena and I am part of a Google Customer Solutions team for the Italian market. So welcome to this episode of Breaking Borders, which of course today is going to be focused on Italy. So if you're interested in knowing more about the Italian market or Italian consumers, please stay tuned. So we will start having a look at some macroeconomic data. And just to give you an idea of the size of the market, we can say, first of all, that of course the internet economy plays a key opportunity. So it has been estimated that the internet value for G20 economies is around 7 trillion US dollars. Also, if we look in the specific at Italy, it's been estimated that internet has an economic value of 53 billion US dollars, which is equivalent to 3% of national GDP. When it comes to e-commerce, also we are talking of very big numbers related to the market. So the value of e-commerce in Italy is around $25 billion, which is 15% more than in the previous year, so compared to 2017. Moreover, Italy is often known as a land for exports, so also export is really important for our economy. And indeed, if we look at data related to past year, we can see that Italy is the third country in the world for export year-on-year growth, the ninth country in the world for absolute export value, and actually export counts towards 3% of our national GDP. Moreover, if we deep dive into export, we can see that still large gaps remain between different Italian regions. So the degree of international openness is still a bit more prominent in the north when compared to the south. Moreover, in general, what we can say is that small and medium enterprises have always played a key role in the Italian economy. So they really represent the backbone of our economy. And this is very true also when it comes to export. So indeed, we can say that almost 50% of Italian exports is contributed by small and medium enterprises. Moreover, on average, around 50% of companies will export to a maximum of 2 countries. So this is also another key characteristic of the Italian market and of exporting in Italy. But what are people looking for when they look for Made in Italy? So in 2018, we had 52 million Made in Italy queries, and these were related to different products and services. But the category that was researched the most about Made in Italy was food. So food took a share of 49% of total Made in Italy queries, followed by fashion with 29%, furniture 12%, and automotive 10%. And it's very interesting to notice that although currently automotive has the smallest share in terms of Made in Italy queries, it's actually the category that's growing fastest, with a rate of 33.2% versus the other categories, which are growing at a rate between 27 and 13%. So we learned a lot about the Italian market, and we already got a glimpse of what are some key features of the market. But let's have a look also at consumers. So what are Italian consumers actually looking for, and what are their buying behavior? And we will do so by having a look at some insights and some data that were collected by Google together with the market research firm Ipsos. So the first thing we can learn is that actually consumers are shopping online and offline and are in different stages of their consumer journey. So last week, 78% of Italians were actually shopping or browsing. And they did so going through different stages, so from thinking through researching, buying, and eventually 74% of them even got to the final stage of their consumer journey, concluding a purchase. But what are consumers looking for? So on average, each Italian is actually looking for around 5 categories of products or services. And the categories that are researched the most are related to clothing, outwear, and footwear. food and groceries, but also personal care and cosmetics. Moreover, it's very interesting to notice that at this point in time, Italy seems to be equally split between online and offline. So basically, the proportion of time that consumers spend online is the same as the percentage of time that today they spend inside the store. And also, they're going to different touch points. On average, each consumer will go through 4.6 online touch points and 2.2 offline touch points. So let's deep dive into these touch points. The first thing we can point out is that online plays a very important role when it comes to prompting people to shop. So although in-store and traditional media still are very important, and they were mentioned as prompting touch points in 36% and 25% of the cases respectively, actually 63% of the time the purchase has been prompted through an online touch point. And according to this research, actually, Google also becomes really important throughout the whole journey of Italian consumers. Indeed, consumers will go to Google to look for a bunch of different information. So to research an in-store or online purchase, or to look for items they saw somewhere else, to discover or find new brands, to find new items or products, but also, for instance, to look for recommendations or just understand what could be the best option for their needs. A very interesting trend that we are observing in Italy also is related to mobile. So shoppers are using mobile more and more. And only last week, for instance, 36% of Italians actually used their phones inside the store. So when they were already inside the store, they would use their smartphones just to do some research, for instance. And even more than that, so 54% of Italians will actually use their smartphones to conclude an online purchase. As I was mentioning, this trend is becoming stronger and stronger, and it's expecting to become very relevant also in the upcoming years. So what you can see in this chart are four major activities that can be fulfilled with smartphones. And in yellow, you will see the percentage of Italians who are currently using their smartphones to fulfill these activities. While in gray, you will see the percentage of Italians who plan to do so in the next year. So basically, by next year, in Italy, we will have around 49% of people who will use their phone to actually pay inside the store. Around 40% of people who will use their smartphones to message a business, so to get in touch with companies and businesses. 43% will actually use their phones to get deals when they are already inside the store. And 33% of them will actually shop or make lists using the support of a digital assistant. So we learned a bit about consumer behavior, consumer preferences, but let's deep dive into what are the expectations of Italian consumers and what opportunity this creates for retailers. So an interesting thing is that when compared to consumers from other regions, Italian shoppers seem to be less curious, less demanding, and less impatient. So, less curious, for instance, only between 51% and 42% of Italian consumers conducted some research online before actually buying or to decide, for instance, what's the best choice for them. But also they are less demanding. In fact, only between 31% and 26% would consider buying brands they are familiar with as something important to them. Or for instance, only a small percentage of them would prefer to buy from companies that offer multiple ways to connect, or wish that retailers would do a better job, for instance, sharing inventory information. And also, they seem to be less impatient as compared to consumers from other countries, because, for instance, only 29% of them would go to the store instead of buying online when they're looking for something quickly. Another characteristic that distinguishes Italian consumers is about branding. So, Italian shoppers are less brand focused than other countries, and they are less concerned with, for instance, new experiences also when compared to shoppers from other regions. Indeed, only 31% of Italians stated that buying a brand with which they are familiar is important to them. And only between 15 and 9% actually stated that they are often looking for new brands or new stores or new retailers. Nevertheless, when they are looking for something new, they will turn to Google. So 34% of Italian consumers will actually use Google before buying something new, confirming that Google plays a very important role when it comes to influencing new discoveries. Finally, while they are not very focused on brand, for instance, Italian consumers are really focused on validation. So validation is really important to them. Italian consumers always want to know if they're making a good deal. So if what they're buying it's really worth buying. So 43% of Italians actually read or watched online reviews in the past week, and 38% of them actually used online reviews before going to the brick and mortar store. So product reviews play a key role when it comes to the research and discovery phase. And also another way that consumers turn to the internet to before actually going to the store is to check inventory. So 33% of them will actually check inventory online before going to the store. But what are Italian consumers looking for when it comes to choosing a retailer versus another? So here you can see three most important factors that have been indicated by Italian consumers as really important to them. So 68% of respondents indicated free shipping as a top characteristic and a top feature that they're looking for in a retailer. Another important service is return. So 54% of respondents indicated this service as crucial for them. And also 49% of respondents indicated that knowing it's a good deal is something that really matters to them and that really determines whether they will buy from a retailer versus another one. So let's assume you are a retailer and you're interested in serving the Italian market. So what are ways in which you can, for instance, improve the shopping experience? So this will be three improvements that have been selected and have been indicated by Italian consumers as really valuable. So one will be, for instance, receiving promotion or deals which are specific to their past purchases. Another important improvement, which would be really appreciated by an Italian consumer, would be related to loyalty or rewards program. So Italian consumers would really like to receive, for instance, reward programs that activate automatically at the checkout. And finally, they desire to have some wish lists where they can actually save items in which they are interested. So keep in mind these three improvements if you are looking for ways to improve the shopping experience of an Italian customer. So we are approaching towards the end of this session, and by now hopefully you find that Italy may be a nice place to go for your export activities. But of course, this may come with some challenges because it would be a new market. But luckily, we are here for that, and our premium teams are actually here to help you overcome these operational barriers. So our premium teams provide different services which can be clustered into 4 major areas: localization, distribution, customer experience, and payments. So when it comes to localization, this concerns everything that's about translation and scaling up of campaigns. So our premium teams will provide you with campaign ads, keyword translations in up to 200 language pairs in on average 4 business days, and they would do so for free. So this would be totally Google funded. Concerning distribution, is that this is everything concerning how you can benchmarking and optimizing your distribution network. So our premium teams will offer consultation, for instance, about how you can optimize your logistics in a new market, and they would do so by also offering some insights on what are local customer preferences or expectations. Similarly, consulting service will also be provided about customer experience, which is everything related to how you can personalize and scale up customer support operations in a local market. So also in this sense, our premium teams will provide you with some information and some market insights, for instance, on what are customer service expectations, or they will offer some best practices on how, for instance, you can optimize the way your clients can reach out to you. And finally, payments. So how can you adapt your payment offering in order to take into account local preferences and make sure that you can minimize costs while also maximizing checkout conversions. So these are the 4 major areas, and you can reach out, of course, to your account managers if you have any more questions or if you are interested in any of these services. So this brings us to the end of the session. I hope you find it interesting, and as I said, please do not hesitate to reach out to your Google POC if you have any questions. Thank you very much.